and welcome back to ET Studios, Future Brands of India in association with ET Retail. I'm your host Himanshi Tiwari. Now, the Indian D2C market is a thriving story. With over 800 D2C companies in India at this point in time, the bet is really big. And why it shouldn't be? Because in 2022, we actually touched $12 million when it comes to the value of D2C companies in India. And for this particular episode, we have someone very special with us. Please join me in welcoming Rakesh Sareen, founder Abhishti. Rakesh, it's a pleasure to have you here on the show.
Pleasure to be here as well. Thank you.
Rakesh, you founded Abhishti in 2013. It has almost been a decade. A lot has changed in the D2C space. A lot has changed for you as an entrepreneur as well, right? So I really want to touch upon that. Like, how have you evolved in this past decade? And of course, how do you see the market now versus then?
So when we started, there were multiple fashion players in terms of marketplaces. Running your own D2C brand wasn't really a big thing of building your own website and everything around it. So we started marketplaces as usual, but eventually we realized the more consumer data that we have, the major ways that we can target them would be a lot more beneficial for us to develop a website and then go towards that route, which turned out to be a D2C route where we were going direct to consumers and not taking marketplaces in the middle. Even though they still form a major chunk of revenue in our bottom line, but the major focus is majorly towards our own website. So the evolution of starting the brand from a small little place in Ashok Vihar, in a Wazirpur village kind of a thing, and then bringing it to a level where we've got investors on board, we're doing thousands of shipments daily. Things like these have been something that has been a revelation for us. For me to start managing from 2 tailors to point of building a brand, understanding marketing, digital marketing, the effect of it, behavior of consumers, demographics and all of these things, which you obviously learn in college and all. But the difference between planning and execution is what differential for a brand to succeed. So we did all of that. That's been a really good learning journey for me in terms of understanding how the world works, how fashion works, how the business works. So the differential between what fashion is and what the business of fashion is, just coming out from a design school and having brilliant ideas is not something that can always guarantee success. Equivalent to saying कि अगर सोना भी हो मगर बेचना ना आता हो तो वो लोहे के भाव भी नहीं बिकेगा because लोहे का काम भी नहीं करता. So to understand all of these things has taken me a decade. I had hair on my head. I very complimentary said when I started this business, lost all of that because of the business. So learned a lot through it. So yeah, it's been a really good journey. It's been a seesaw, but you don't enjoy rides if they don't go down and then go up and then go down. So yeah, it's been a really good journey for me.
Because and now, you know, when you started in 2013, consumers were different. Their preferences were different. A lot has changed in these 10 years. COVID came, you know, e-commerce suddenly got so much attention, and then quick commerce came. So consumers have actually changed in the way with how they engage with the brands. So how that has changed for you, and how are you keeping up with that sort of evolution when it comes to your consumer preferences?
So this is a 2-part answer that I'll give. One is the behavior thing, and the second is the way the commerce is being played. The behavior thing is that consumers would always want low prices. Earlier when we started, e-commerce was majorly a place where people brought their excess stock and sold them off. But now eventually it has been a place where people come to build brands as well. So consumer behavior from just buying something for a certain kind of price point vis-a-vis buying something which is more suited to their kind of needs speaks their volumes, because fashion is something that is a more expression of your own self. So the kind of dresses that you wear, the kind of prints that you wear, the kind of cuts and slits that you wear is an expression of the kind of personality that you have. Whereas earlier it was more price focused, now it is more fashion focused. So that has been a consumer behavior pattern change that we've seen. In terms of the way of commerce being applied to this thing, I like to believe genuinely that fashion as a commerce thing is not an impulse buy. It is a more experiential buy, where a consumer, even if they're going on a website, they wouldn't just go tuck, buy it and leave. No, they look at the options. Maybe I can get some other color in it. Maybe there's another design suited to it.
And that's a retail therapy that a lot of Gen Zs call at this point in time.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's a more experiential buy. In the quick commerce segment, to get a kurta or a shirt the way that we guys make it, within a 10 minutes time span is going to be a very small window for us. For an ethnic wear brand like ours, we'll be looking at Diwali, that maybe somebody has to head out for a card party, they're back from office and they're looking for it. So they tuck, they go something, but they would not like to experience the brand. They would just like to be in the attire. It's more of an outfit buy if they'd be doing through a quick commerce thing rather than an attire buy. Because now that we've been in a decade of business and people are understanding the fashion thing as well, that if they're buying something right now in terms of fashion, they wouldn't get it tomorrow. It might take a 48-hour journey as well. It might take a 12-hour journey as well with these hyper-local delivery partners that we have. So because our major warehouse is in Gurgaon, is in Manesar. So Delhi Gurgaon gets served from our own website within 12 to 24 hours. At times, somebody has ordered a dress from us at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and at 7 o'clock we've delivered it. So there is a certain element in it, but that is a good surprise element, an experiential element. But in terms of quick commerce, we're still to figure out in terms of a brand whether we want to be inventory heavy as well. So if you're building quick commerce, you have all these dark stores there where you'll have to keep your inventory. For a fashion brand to understand the kind of impulse demand to generate that kind of inventory, because our inventory building is not like an FMCG product and it's not an instantly consumable thing, and you can have a repeat cycle of the same product. Fashion keeps on evolving, tastes keep on changing. A certain kind of a product in a certain kind of time span, in a certain kind of year would be a lot more fashionable than it would not be 3 months down the line. So all of these things also come into play for it. We're looking at the data currently right now, looking at the partners and looking at a lot of other people who've started with this, seeing the kind of SKUs that they are putting there. So I would understand a basic white t-shirt getting sold a lot more through quick commerce, whereas a basic white kurta might not. It will be a more seasonal buy. This will be a more just a usual buy that you want to do. So that is something that we're looking into.
All right. So at this point in time, Rakesh, a lot of brands talk about personalization. Like it's a highly used word at this point in time. So what do you believe? Like how much personalization works for a brand like Abhishti?
So I'll talk about personalization in the apparel sector in generally. So a woman who buys a kurta from us always knows कि अगर थोड़ा सा भी लूज हो वो मास्टर जी के पास लेके टाइट करा लेगी. As a brand, we guys make more minimalistic clothes. Our focus is more towards the cuts and the styles rather than the prints on it. So what happens is when you buy a plain kurta, you can style it in the way that you want. Maybe with a jewelry around your neck, something in the hand, something in the ears and all, and it complements the whole thing. So that is the kind of personalization in the apparel sector that we are willing to offer, where we give you a canvas which has a pretty enough picture on it, but you get to choose the frame that you put that picture in. Yeah. So that is what is the kind of personalization that we give. In terms of building personalization for a fashion company, because we're a ready-to-wear brand, personalization would get really problematic for us. It will be a problem in terms of the inventory that you're holding and then returns. Fashion is an industry in terms of ours as well, where you get a 30 to 40% return. Imagine if you've ordered for a personalized product and you get it and you don't like it and you return it back. Then that product is not going to be of any use to us, it's going to be dead inventory. The whole calculation of that, the cycle of that is not going to be economically feasible for us. So hence, not that kind of personalization, but a certain element that you give to a consumer.
But also when you engage with your customers, so you bring in that personalization angle. For example, there are repetitive consumers on your website. So you can actually personalize a size for them and you can actually tell them that, for example, L is the size which will go well with you based on your past shopping experience. So that's the kind of personalization I think you must be working on.
Yeah, so there is a small little program that we run. We don't talk about it at all anywhere. That's the Loyal Fans programs, which we have, where we have a small little group of people who've qualified for 3 kinds of benchmarks that we have. And then we offer them these kinds of things in terms of, so they get new products whenever they're getting launched. They get a beforehand thing on it. We've got a community, they've got a dedicated number where they can call and talk to the customer care as well in terms of the product that they want. If they want a certain kind of things to be changed, we've already understood and made that economic benefit from them where we can do those personalizations and we have those conversations as well. So in terms of personalizations of conversations and understanding where our consumer is coming from, that is something definitely that we do.
And how much of technology goes into that? I really want to understand the technology part now that you know your customer preferences. There's a lot of data coming from different sources, your website, the social media, the CRMs, and whatever channels you are implying to kind of engage with your customers. So there's a lot of data. How do you keep that sort of data organized so that you can kind of use that data in your future ideas or your future projects?
So we classify data into multiple types of things. B, we understand which source is giving us data in terms of social that we use. Pinterest gives us a specific kind of data. LinkedIn gives us something different. Google gives us something different, and Facebook gives us something different. So to collate all of this data that we have and then to retarget them in a certain way, there are certain steps that we took, multiple testing processes that we do, and then whatever data is refined, eventually that data is built into cohorts. Now the cohorts can be in types of the products that you've bought, the frequency of buy that you've had, the amount value of purchase that you have, so on and so forth. So we assimilate all this data, and then we try to figure out where all these people fit in, and then we try to figure out the marketing campaign that we can target them with, and then understand whether is it a warm audience, is it a cold audience, is it an audience which is more inclined towards buy right now, but the number of frequency of visibility in terms of the brand frequency going to them, is it matching the point where we have to go? So I'll give you an example. Shein.com did a study around 3 years back where they said the number of frequency of an ad to be visible to a customer to induce purchase behavior is 6, where they have to see an ad at least 6 times to go on to purchase from a product. Whereas what we're looking at right now for our brand particularly, it's around 2.8. It is half of that. It can also be because we've already kind of stifled that data so much that whatever remains at the end, who actually gets to see the money spent on the ads, is a lot more refined, that we can get these numbers down. But yeah, to get all that data on board, to collate it, there's a lot of tech that has to go in. There are multiple softwares that we use for it. In terms of bridging that data out and building that data in a certain kind of cohort, obviously Excel works. It's the basic fundamental of everything. But yes, collecting this data, collating this data, and then building this data into cohorts is something that we're really keen on.
All right. We talked about technology. Now, when we talk about the corporate space, there's one thing that we get to hear almost daily. As an employee and also as a boss, what's new?
Yeah.
So what's new for your business?
I was having this conversation yesterday only with my team. I was telling them all of these guys in terms of beauty, in terms of FMCG and all of these other things that they don't have to do that much of innovation. If the one SKU sells really well, they can sell it for half a decade. It wouldn't touch. Like a white bread being sold by Harvest is something which will make them a lot of revenue for years on go. Fashion doesn't work that way. We have to come up with at least 4 new collections every year. So we are consistently on the toes of innovation in terms of building products. But now what we've understood is our demographic is slightly moving. Earlier, the focus was more towards the sizing. We've just understood that there's a research that NSDS did where they said that if you look at the segment of women between 25 to around 45, that's where our demographic is. And professional women, 90% of our consumers are professional women. The size preference there has gone towards L, whereas it used to be between S and M earlier. So all of these things and understanding these things and then building the products accordingly. So earlier what we were designing were much more sharper, much more fitted products. Now we understand that what the consumers are looking for a lot more off the body products. So the silhouettes will change, the kind of cuts will change, the kind of fits will also change. So all of these things are there. And also because we have to do it every 3 months, so we consistently look into that. Google Trends helps us a lot in terms of understanding what European trend is. So Indian fashion generally operates in a certain way, whatever's there in the 4 fashion shows, that's your London, New York, Paris and Milan, that trickles down into the Indian market within an year point of time. Around 4 years back, this was 2 years. Now it's come down to an year because it trickles down faster into China and South Korea. Whatever happens in China and South Korea trickles down into India. It is usually a 1-year cycle now. So to understand those kind of trends which are going to come to India and then build products accordingly and then have the timing right as well. So we've gone both ways on this thing. Once we did a design thing where we were doing a lot of flare sleeves. This is around 6 years back. We were early, we jumped the trend a little, and 2 collections down the line, suddenly that SKU started selling a lot more, even though we had completely shut it down. So understanding that tech part of making sure that innovation also happens at the right time. Yeah, so that is what happened. But the last collection that we did, the vintage collection that we did, we made a back bow design. And we understood through Google Trends and looking at all the other fashion shows as well, this is going to be a trend in the next 6 months. We launched it right around August. It took off around September, October. And by November, bows were in trend in the country. for women at least. So if you look at the bows that women started wearing on their head, they are getting on these things. Suddenly, whatever information Nykaa and Myntra would give us, they would find that it is a trend. We already had a product ready for it. So we have multiple instances in our life journey where we've beaten the trend, because to get all this data from all of these fashion shows, from what trend spotting is happening, is very important. So innovation is absolutely key. Understanding how that has to be innovated and timing it correctly. If you don't time it correctly, it becomes a problem.
Yeah, and you know, like a decade back, this won't be possible, like understanding the trends this fast, which is why now the market is rapidly changing, right? So a lot has changed. Of course, it's beneficial for the entrepreneurs that you get to see a lot of data, you get to plan your strategy as per the trends, but also the market is changing rapidly. So you will have to keep up with that sort of changing market. On that note, I also want to understand from you about your omni-channel presence. A lot of D2C brands think that being present in the omni-channel world brings them success, like it's a success mantra for them. So what omni-channel presence means for you as a brand?
So as a brand, we have tried that as a segment. It hasn't really worked well because the combination hasn't been correct for us. Rather than facing success, we faced failure. But I've always talked about this thing with my team and everybody whom I met, that every action that you take, आपको लक्ष्मी या सरस्वती में से किसी की प्राप्ति होती है. So हमें सरस्वती ही आ रही है अभी तक omni channel से, लक्ष्मी आई नहीं है. So we've done that with Shoppers Stop. We've tried opening up a store as well and done that. But to understand the economics of it and to understand where the demographic is at play, it's been a tough challenge for us. But going forward, there's a company called Flyrobe. They have exactly similar product that we guys do. But what we do, we are a bridge to luxury segment. They are a luxury segment. But the event focused thing, the sales thing is almost similar. So imagine like you're buying a lehenga for a wedding, whereas there's a haldi function, a mehndi function as well, and you want to buy a kurta and something for that. So that is something which is a perfect brand market fit with the brand Flyrobe in terms of where we can be placed. So we're in conversation with that. We're going to start with at least 3 stores within the next 2 months. Menswear has been a revelation for us.
Flyrobe, I think, rents
Flyrobe rents. We will be selling on this thing. So what Flyrobe rents us is what we'll be selling at. So if you rent a lehenga, you'd be getting it around 2,500, 3,000 rupees for an event. Whereas in that price point, you'll be getting our product for buying as well. Yeah, so that will be a good mix to have there, where somebody is buying an expensive thing for a rental thing, whereas a small little thing for a buying thing as well, for a buying experience. So that is something that we're doing in terms of the offline presence that we would have.
All right. So this is one of my favorite questions I ask almost all the entrepreneurs. It's been a decade for you. When did you think that now this is it? Like I have established my brand and now I'll scale from here. Like what was that time for you when you thought, ab ho gaya?
To be honest, I haven't thought of it ever. मुझे लगता नहीं है हो गया कभी और होगा भी नहीं मुझे लगता नहीं. My hunger is too big. Even if I have fever and I don't go to work, so वो नहीं होता. आप तब बोलते हो गया जब आपको लगता है कि आप अब रेस्ट कर सकते हो, आराम का समय आ गया. But अभी नहीं है बिल्कुल भी. I'm not even close to it. I'm not even in the vicinity of being कि यार हो गया, we've built a brand. Because the moment you think about that as a company that we want to innovate, we want to learn a lot more, you start putting barriers in it. So the point about this is that I would go and sit with my karigars and talk to them. I would go and sit with my designers and my work people and everything. Even the people who are there at managing my gate. कि यार किस तरह के लोग आ रहे हैं, क्या बोल रहे हैं, क्या बोलते हैं कस्टमर के बारे में और उनको क्या लगता है कंपनी के बारे में. Because what you get to see is a face of the organization that is towards the consumer. So every organization that gets built, it is said, they can believe in one of 3 things, either people or product or the service that they get or their own employees. So if you look at Amazon, what they've built it for the customers, कि यार customers के लिए best company बनाएंगे, it has to be cheap, customers have to be happy. If you look at Tata, they've built a company that our employees should be happy. If there are happy employees, they would give good service as well. So, and if you look at Apple, they're a more product-focused company that we don't care about anything else, but our product has to be superior. If we build good products, everything will take care of themselves. So, to understand that an organization is a mix of all of these things and to maintain a balance in that is a constant work. It is like the Greek myth of Sisyphus, where he has to pull the boulder up. It comes down every day, and that's what it is. Every day when I go to sleep, the boulder is left on this thing. I shut my eyes, the boulder walks down the road, and then I have to go back every day in the morning and then again pull it up.
Yeah, it's hustle always for an entrepreneur.
Absolutely. I don't think I will ever retire, even if I'm turning 70, 80, 90. I love to work because, so my wife's a lawyer, and we've understood that lawyers have a certain gestation period where the older they get, the better they get. It also has to do with the brain, the way it works. So because of the business that we've been running and behavior that we've been studying, I've read a lot about the brain, the neofrontal cortex, the limbic brain, how it develops, what all you do in terms of the ads that we build. So we understand that when we discount ki ad bana rahe hain, we are targeting the neofrontal cortex where numbers and all of these things are easily done. So that have to be the focus of the ad. Whereas if we're trying to build a brand, we're doing a brand building ad where we're creating awareness, we're focusing on the limbic brain, the older emotional brain that is there. So all the brands have to be, all the ads have to be focused into both of these things. So to understand that, your brain keeps on evolving and evolving. If you're working consistently, new synapses keep on getting built and you remain fresh and healthy forever. So I don't think I'm ever going to retire. मुझे कभी भी नहीं लगेगा हो गया. I will always keep on learning and I'll always keep on building new things.
All right. So manifesting that you don't retire anytime soon, or like you don't retire at least for a long time at this point in time. But thank you so much for joining us today. It's been a pleasure. The conversation has been really interesting, Rakesh. Thank you so much for coming to our studios today. And to our viewers, stay tuned for more such videos only at ET Studios, Future Brands of India in association with ET Retail.